Well, today we have a really exciting moment to share together. Today we celebrate a giant in our field, Carl St.Clair. Carl, amazing. Carl recently concluded a 35-year tenure as music director of Pacific Symphony and now becomes music director laureate. Carl holds the extraordinary distinction of being the longest-serving American-born conductor of a major American orchestra. Under his visionary leadership, Pacific Symphony has not only flourished, it has ascended to become one of the highest-budgeted U.S. orchestras established in the past half-century. His enduring legacy is a testament to artistry, to innovation, and to a commitment to excellence that has left a lasting mark on the American orchestral field. A few highlights from your tenure include the Pacific Symphony's 2018 debut sold out at Carnegie Hall, tours across Europe and China, innovative programming like the American Composers Festival and Symphonic Voices Opera Series, dozens of world premieres, and commitment to living composers. Leadership beyond the United States, including a 10-year tenure as music director of the National Symphony of Costa Rica, and a profound impact on the next generation as an educator of USC at USC, Chapman, and through the Pacific Symphony's own educational programs. We are incredibly pleased to share with you a brief clip of Under the Baton, a powerful documentary that chronicles Carl St.Clair's remarkable legacy with the Pacific Symphony. This moving film was co-produced by Maria Hall-Brown of PBS SoCal and Paul Hudgens of Culture OC. And we're proud to share with you that recently it won an award at the 17th Annual National Arts and Entertainment Journalism Awards presented by the Los Angeles Press Club. Congratulations for that award. Our heartfelt thanks to Maria and to Paul for capturing Carl's impact and his legacy with such depth and care. I understand that Maria is here with us this afternoon. Maria, can you please stand and be recognized? Let's watch.
I remember Dr. DeCluse, he just pulled me very close. He says, "My dear young man, with the Pacific Symphony, you have one of the greatest opportunities afforded to any American music director. Get to work."
Keith Clark, music director, came to Orange County in 1978 as the founding director of the Orange County Pacific Symphony after years of conducting and composing in Europe. He conducted orchestras and opera in Austria, Germany, Italy, Romania, and Hungary.
So you arrive here, you're a young conductor in your 30s, Cadillac of an orchestra. What were your immediate goals?
We need to be an orchestra of color. We need to have various colors. We need to have, especially percussion and harp, and the strings could play with this kind of quality of finesse and elegance. We are going to do the classical canon of what makes orchestras great.
I would like to see the Pacific Symphony Orchestra become an indispensable part of the life of everyone in Orange County, so that if we had a disaster of some sort, it would be women, children, and the Pacific Symphony Orchestra.
The energy that he brought to the stage was incredible. I mean, and what I enjoyed is the accuracy, I guess. Very easy to follow for me. Very easy to follow him. Because sometimes you'll get conductors, well, they're very flamboyant and throwing things left and right.
Where's the beat?
Yeah, right, and it's more about the conductor than it is about the musicians. Playing for Carl St.Clair, it was obvious that he wanted the best out of the musicians, you know, and that made my job a whole lot easier. That I know that when I looked up, I'll see the same thing, that nothing will change from rehearsal to performance.
You know what I love about Carl is when he steps off the podium and you talk to him on a personal level, his Texas roots come out a little bit. He's very family oriented, and he wants to know about how you're doing, how your family's doing. And it's like, for me, it's like talking to an uncle. I mean, he's a regular guy. As such a genius conductor as he is and everything, when you talk to him away from the music, he's just a regular guy.
I started out by saying I have feet in reality, but these silent dreams, these quiet dreams that I have. And this became a dream of mine, to be the first of a different kind of Tier 1 orchestra. Not necessarily to model ourselves after the great institutions of the Cleveland and the Chicagos and the New Yorks and the Bostons, but to become an orchestra that is really grown from the loins of Orange County and who we are and who California is. It's been an incredible chapter, and it's not ending. I mean, that's the great thing about it. It's a new chapter. It's just beginning. I mean, this is the most exciting thing. In order for the orchestra to continue its trajectory into its 50th anniversary and into the middle part of the 21st century, a new voice, a new vision, a new feeling will help get it there.
Carl, if you could please join me on stage, Carl. Carl, on behalf of the Board of Directors of the Association of California Symphony Orchestras, it is my honor to present to you the 2025 Legacy Award. Thank you for all you do. Thank you for inspiring us. We appreciate you. I'm really excited about this conversation. If you will, please help me welcome Christopher Trela of Chapman University for a very special conversation with our honoree. Carl, congratulations once again.
All right, so first I have to tell you why I'm delighted to be able to talk to Carl today. As you heard, I'm a professor at Chapman University's Dodge Film School. I teach entertainment PR, entertainment marketing, classes like that. But I also served as Director of Public Relations for Pacific Symphony from 2002 to 2006, I believe. And during that time, I attended several ACSO conferences, so I know how important these conferences are and how much you can learn at these. I've also been an arts journalist, and I've been writing about Pacific Symphony and Carl for over 30 years, so I've had the opportunity to grow my professional career along with the symphony, which has been terrific. But several years ago, at a Pacific Symphony gala, I was the high bidder on an auction item, which was the opportunity to conduct one piece at a Pacific Symphony Pops concert. That auction item included a conducting lesson from Carl St.Clair, which I did in his dressing room prior to a classics concert. And I have to tell you, it was a thrill to conduct the orchestra, but to be able to get conducting tips from this man in his dressing room for half an hour is something I'll never forget.
He was a great student.
Well, and I'm told I did a pretty good job. Although they haven't called me back to conduct again, so I don't know.
You have to rebid. That's the whole point, you know.
I was afraid of that. But I wanted to talk to you about a few different things today, Carl. We've heard a lot of wonderful things that the symphony has done over the years. But I want to go back 35 years, and a lot of people may not know, but what brought you here originally? And after you arrived, what was the thought process you had to realize, you know, we've got an opportunity to really do something special here, but you also have to take the community with you as you're doing that. So how did that happen 35 years ago?
Before coming here, I was the assistant conductor of the Boston Symphony, and there I got to know Seiji Ozawa, Leonard Bernstein, and of course John Williams, who was the conductor of the Boston Pops. In 1985, I was a conducting fellow at Tanglewood, and that's where I met everybody. And in 1986, in January, Seiji appointed me assistant conductor of the Boston Symphony, which is a position I held until literally 1989. And John Williams came to open the Pops season, the spring Pop season, and he says, you know, Carl, I just conducted this orchestra in Orange County. It's called Pacific Symphony. And he goes, they are a crackerjack orchestra. And he says, they're looking for a music director. You should know about them, and they should know about you. And in January of 1990, I was in fact invited to conduct a concert. And about 3 weeks later, I was appointed music director. So it was actually John Williams who put us together. And just a little bit before that, you know, we're talking about wellness. The orchestra at that time wasn't very well, Pacific Symphony, and John Williams very, very beautifully conducted a gala concert for us, which literally established us on a different map in Southern California when John Williams would conduct a concert for you, and it just really gave us a light and a brightness that we hadn't had in a long time. So at that moment, the Pacific Symphony literally turned a corner because of John's generosity, and of course, him being the great conductor and composer that he is today. And so that's how I got to know Pacific Symphony. And well, on the phone just before the program was, oh my gosh, the program was, it was going to be Magic Flute Overture, Songs of the Auvergne of Joseph Canteloup, and the Pathetique Symphony of Tchaikovsky. First thing that hit me is, like, I get a call from Lou Spisto at the time. He says, Carl, the board is a little concerned that Tchaikovsky's Pathetique ends softly and would like to know if you wouldn't mind putting that on the first half. And I said, well, that's not going to happen. And I said, if the Pacific Symphony can play one more note after the Pathetique, and if I can conduct another downbeat after the Pathetique, don't hire me. Just don't hire me. So it ended up being on the second half. I started the very first rehearsal of Mozart's Magic Flute like this. And the orchestra played. And I go, Magic Flute. They go, Marriage of Figaro. They had passed out the wrong music. And then, of course, the soprano couldn't get her visa. So the soprano to sing the Songs of the Auvergne didn't come. We found that out a day after I arrived. And so I said, call Benita Valente in Philadelphia and ask her if she would mind doing some of the Rückert Lieder of Mahler and also Exultate Jubilate of Mozart, and she did. So the program didn't get reversed, but we started with Marriage of Figaro Overture, and then we played two works with Benita Valente as solos that wasn't scheduled. So the whole thing was kind of a topsy-turvy week. But you know, it just shows that if you have, you know, flexibility in your community and with the people around you, and if you have this ability to just turn on a dime and just do what's necessary at every moment and at every turn, there is survival, there is happiness, there is wellness in every organization.
So during that first year, did you see in the orchestra that, wow, this is an opportunity to really grow the orchestra and the community? And because back at that time, we were still a pretty young arts community. We didn't have the concert hall, we didn't have this room. It was still pretty young. How did that kind of manifest itself?
Well, at that time, the Pacific Symphony's budget was, if I'm right about this, John, was around $2 million. And we had an $800,000 deficit. Not a good ratio. That's like bad cholesterol, if you know what I mean. And you know, it's the board of directors. The board of directors just finally, one gentleman, James Imey, just stood up in a boardroom and says, I am tired of talking about this monkey that's on our back, this deficit. Here's my amount of money, and I need 25 people to do the same thing for the next 2 years, and let's just get this off our back. And it happened. And so it just took the courage, like Arthur is, our leader, our chair now. We have so many people, and there are people on our board that were on that board when I was hired 35 years ago. There are 2 members of the board that are still there, that one was appointed the same night I was appointed music director, and the other had preceded me by about 3 years. So it's the loyalty and the hard work and dedication of the board and the community that has really helped us survive. And you know, I kind of mumbled when I said this, but Dr. Decloux was born in Lucerne, studied in Vienna, heard Strauss conduct his own works, was Toscanini's assistant with the NBC Symphony, came to the United States in 1939. You know, he spoke 7 languages, joined the armed forces in World War II. He was the one who looked at me and said, my dear young man, you have the greatest opportunity afforded to an American music director. Get to work. And I took him at his word, because if you look around, and if I looked around and I saw all these incredible musicians, I mean, there was, through the 2 executive directors, presidents, John for over 26 years now, and Lou Spisto for the onset of Pacific Symphony's life. I mean, that proverbial ceiling, that glass ceiling that appears above organizations, just hasn't made itself known. And so we've just kept growing. But not without a relationship, a strong, not relationship, partnership from Orange County and our 34 cities, as Arthur said. It's been a partnership. We have literally had the great advantage of growing hand in hand, like high school sweethearts, you know, like teenagers. Like we're now, like we're still not married, our community. We still have a lot of work to do, you know, but when orchestras get in trouble is when one part of the organization says, I want to get married, and the other part hasn't said, I love you yet. But the point of it is that Orange County and Pacific Symphony, we have literally the arts, thank you, Patrick, the arts in Orange County have grown at the same rate as the community itself, hand in hand, in tandem. There's not one ounce of increasing or development of Pacific Symphony in the last 35 years that we didn't do without a lot of research and a lot of already knowing that the community would support that. Not for 1 year, not for 2 years, but for an ongoing period. And this relationship and the bridges that we've built have been our survival. The bridges with the many communities that we have in Orange County, we do a Nowruz, this is the Persian New Year. We do the Lunar New Year, which is everyone in that area of that community. We did symphonic soul. I mean, we try to touch every aspect of our community, whether it's young or old, and regardless of any kind of socioeconomic level. And because I've mantraed since the very beginning, until we're locally acclaimed, locally treasured, respected, and people want to protect us in hard times, I don't care what's going on nationally or internationally. Because we're Pacific Symphony. We're our Orange County's servant, our orchestra. Everything we're going to do is going to be meant for our community. And then later in 2006, okay, we made a few recordings and we did some commissioning works, but in 2006, when this hall was built, we went to Europe for the first time. That's the first concerts we played outside of Orange County was in Munich. You know, so we have done it very gradually. I've said since the beginning, you know, we have to grow like an oak tree. We have to grow with what we don't see as much as we do with what's flowering at the top. And those roots in our community have really helped us survive the 1993, the 2000, 2006, 2008, 2019. I mean, it just goes on, and all these huge hurdles, we've continued to grow because our community's relationship, or our relationship with our community, has been strong enough so that little thing that I said about women and children in Pacific Symphony, I mean, I really think it's true. I mean, and they do respect us, but we have a lot of work to do. We can never take it for granted. It's a daily relationship building. And early on in my tenure, I started using the word family. And it wasn't to the orchestra, it wasn't even to the staff, it was to the audience, that they were a part of a family. And if you noticed, I've hugged everybody I've seen in this room thus far. And I do that at every board meeting, and I do that all the time with everybody, because you matter to us. What you do for us, what we do for you, that's a partnership. That's a communal engagement. That's a communal experience that we share together. And that's something very unique. Sorry, I'm talking way too long.
It's fabulous. I don't have to ask as many questions.
I grew up in a Southern Baptist church, so I know about preaching.
Like I tell my students, by the way, I hope you're taking notes because there may be a quiz later. Well, we have time for one more question. So this is probably an open-ended one that you could actually talk for a while on, but what do you see in the future for not just Pacific Symphony, but for symphony orchestras in the United States?
I tell you what I see. I was just in Japan conducting an orchestra of students from Korea, Taiwan, Hong Kong, China, and Japan. And I was just before that at the Round Top Festival in Texas, which is in the middle of, between Austin and Houston, in the middle of nowhere, with students from all over our country and some European countries. I see a hope in these young performers that I haven't seen in a long time. And the one thing I talk to them about is be an ambassador for who you are and what we represent, and to carry those talents that you have, not only as a player. I said, when you put the violin in the case, that's a violin. When you pick it up, it's an instrument. And an instrument has a purpose. And you are the only one that can give righteousness and good to that purpose. The real existence of music in our lives, why is that? When that instrument is attached to you, it's all about your feelings. Share them, shout them, just do everything you can to let everybody know. And when I see these young people from literally all over the world, they are fine young individuals, like the saxophone group. I mean, they're all over the world, and they're our hope. They're really our hope, and we need to understand the power that this youthful energy and this positivity that they carry in their performances, how that is going to impact our world. And I tell each and every one of them, I said, this generation of musicians has a greater opportunity to influence, to impact, to direct, to shape the future of classical music and music in our community more so than almost any other generation I've known. Because this palette that they're on, the playing field that they're on, is changing so vividly and so maybe vividly is the wrong word, so quickly at each and every turn that they have an opportunity to affect that. And I would put my heart and hand into those young minds and those young musicians because they are terrific and their hearts are in the right place.
Carl, thank you again for 35 years for talking with us and sharing your thoughts on the symphony and orchestras in California. And like I said, I've been talking to a lot of orchestras here, small ones, medium ones, large ones, and I am so impressed by what everybody here is doing. So thank you all for your efforts too.
That's what I was going to say. One of the reasons Pacific Symphony is the orchestra it is to this day is my relationship with John Forsythe, my relationship with Lou Spisto. My relationship, your music director's relationship with you is the first bridge that has to be strong, has to be powerful, has to be friendly, has to be honest, has to be sometimes so honest that it hurts at some point. But it's that relationship that you have to build. And John and I have shared so much of the success, but we've also been through the darkest moments of the orchestra's life, almost unbeknownst to anyone else. And so it's that relationship. Don't forget to build bridges. Bridges connect people, they connect hearts, and that's what we need to do with our communities. Thank you.